Ambassador Lyra Chun stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Concord and watched 12 alien species argue about how to die. The hall was beautiful, built from crystal that sang when light touched it. Today, no one cared about beauty. Today, fear filled every corner. 300 years ago, humanity had joined this council of stars. They had been welcomed, tested, and then feared. The other species had seen what humans could do. They had watched humans crack a moon during their civil wars. They had seen 2 colony worlds burn. So the Concord made humanity sign a treaty. The Treaty of Constraint, they called it. Humanity had to destroy their warships. They had to lock away their weapons. They had to become peaceful, or they could not join. Humanity agreed. They wanted friends among the stars more than they wanted guns. Now the Vraxian Dominion was coming, and those friends were useless. "We must surrender," said the Thalassian delegate. His blue skin was pale with fear. "The Vraxians have destroyed 3 of our worlds in 7 days. We cannot fight them." "Surrender means death," another delegate shouted. "They do not take prisoners. They take planets." Lyra raised her hand. The hall went quiet. Even after 3 centuries, the other species watched humans carefully. Old fear never truly dies. "Earth offers its help," Lyra said. "We will fight beside you." Laughter filled the hall. It was not kind laughter. It was the laughter of people who had forgotten what humans once were. Fight with what? The Kethrani delegate spread his forearms wide. "You have no warships. You have patrol boats and cargo vessels. The treaty made sure of that. What will you do, Ambassador? Throw rocks?" Lyra kept her face calm, but inside, shame burned. They were right. Humanity had kept their promise. They had destroyed their weapons and trusted the galaxy to protect them. Now that trust was worthless. Far away, in the cold space near the Meridian sector, Admiral Marcus Stone learned this lesson in blood. His fleet was small. 12 frigates, old and slow, built for patrol duty and rescue missions. They were not meant for war. But war had found them anyway. The refugee convoy stretched behind his ships like a river of lights. 50,000 people from the fallen colony of New Brisbane, running from death. Stone had promised to protect them. He was about to break that promise. "Admiral," his tactical officer said, her voice shaking, "Raxian fleet incoming. 40 warships." Stone looked at the display. 40 against 12. His ships had light weapons meant for pirates, not planet killers. The math was simple and cruel. "All ships form defensive line," he ordered. "Put yourselves between the convoy and the enemy." "Sir, we cannot win this fight." "I know." Stone's voice was steady. "But we can buy them time to run. That is what we do today. We buy time." The battle lasted 11 minutes. Stone watched his ships die one by one. The Reliant went first, torn apart by missiles. Then the Horizon, the Swift, the Brave. Good ships. Good people. Gone in fire and silence. His own ship, the Endurance, took a hit that killed half his crew. Stone survived because he was on the bridge. And the bridge had better armor. Luck. Stupid, meaningless luck. When the Vraxians turned toward the convoy, Stone closed his eyes. He had failed. But then, something strange happened. A Concord battle group appeared from faster-than-light travel. They were not there to save humans. They were running from a different battle. But their arrival confused the Vraxians, who pulled back to assess the new threat. The convoy escaped. Stone's remaining 3 ships limped toward Earth. 2 weeks later, Stone stood in a hospital room on Earth, bandages covering the burns on his arms. A man in a simple gray suit waited by the window. "Admiral Stone," the man said. "My name is Director Wei. I need you to come with me." "I just buried 60% of my crew," Stone replied. "I need rest. The galaxy needs you more." Wei's eyes were old and tired, but something fierce burned behind them. I am going to show you something that does not exist. Something that was never supposed to be built. And you are going to command it. They traveled in a small shuttle, then by underground train, then by elevator that went down for a very long time. Stone did not ask questions. He was too tired for questions. The bunker was deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, hidden from every sensor and satellite. Wei led Stone through heavy doors that required codes, eye scans, and blood samples to open. Finally, they entered a vast room filled with holographic displays. Scientists and military officers moved with quiet purpose. In the center of the room, a massive hologram rotated slowly. Stone stopped breathing. It was a ship. But calling it a ship was like calling an ocean a puddle. The thing was 12 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor that made no sense to him. It was brutal and beautiful, a monster made of metal and purpose. What am I looking at? He whispered. Before we signed the treaty, Wei said, before we agreed to become peaceful, we built this. It was our answer to a hostile universe. We called it the Prometheus, the Firebringer. The treaty said we had to destroy our warships. This ship was never officially completed. It never officially existed. We hid it in an asteroid field between the galactic arms, in a place where no one would ever look. Wei turned to face Stone. For 300 years, it has waited in the dark. We hoped we would never need it. And now? Wei's face was grim. Now the Vraxians are killing millions. The Concorde is falling. And humanity is out of options. He placed a hand on Stone's shoulder. Admiral, what you are looking at was never supposed to exist. And now we have no choice but to wake it. Stone stared at the hologram. The ship was terrifying. It was hope. It was everything humanity had promised to never be again. When do we leave? He asked. Wei almost smiled. Tomorrow. The galaxy is burning, Admiral. It is time to bring the fire. The journey to asteroid field X-77 took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of faster-than-light travel through the empty spaces between galactic arms, where stars were rare and hope was rarer. Admiral Stone spent those weeks reading classified files that made his blood run cold. The history book said humanity joined the Concorde peacefully. The history books lied. Before the treaty, before the smiles and handshakes, humanity had prepared for war. They had looked at the galaxy and seen a dangerous place full of species that might want to destroy them. So they built a weapon that could destroy anything first. The Prometheus was not just a ship. It was a statement. It said, "We will survive, no matter what comes." Stone read about weapons that broke the laws of physics. He read about shields that made damage impossible. He read about an artificial intelligence so advanced that the Concorde had banned all research into such things. When the treaty was signed, humanity was supposed to destroy everything. Instead, they hid their greatest creation in a place where no one would ever find it. Until now. The transport ship carried a skeleton crew of 47 people. They were the best engineers, pilots, and soldiers Earth could find. They knew they might not come back. They came anyway. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka was the youngest among them. She was 28 years old, brilliant with computers, and angry. She had lost her brother on New Brisbane. The Vraxians had killed him along with 2 million others. "Do you think it will work?" she asked Stone one evening. They stood in the transport's small observation room, watching the stars slip past. "I do not know," Stone admitted. "The ship is 300 years old. Maybe the systems have failed. Maybe the power cores are dead. We might find nothing but a metal corpse. And if it works?" Stone was quiet for a long moment. "Then we become something humanity promised never to be again. Dangerous." The asteroid field appeared on sensors 3 days later. millions of rocks floating in the darkness, hiding secrets in their shadows. The transport moved carefully through the field, following coordinates that only 5 people in the universe knew. Then they saw it. The asteroid was larger than the others, almost 50 kilometers across. But this was no ordinary rock. As they flew closer, they could see the hollow core, the massive doors hidden beneath centuries of dust and ice. "Opening outer doors," the pilot announced. "We are going inside." The transport slipped through the doors and entered a cavern of impossible size. And there, waiting in the darkness like a sleeping giant, was the Prometheus. Stone heard someone gasp. Someone else began to cry. He understood. The ship was beyond anything they had imagined. 12 kilometers of black metal and gleaming weapons. The hull was covered in strange patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them. The engines were cold and dark, but even sleeping, they promised terrible power. 300 years, Stone whispered. And it looks like it was built yesterday. The crew docked with the Prometheus and entered through an airlock that still worked perfectly. Inside, the ship was dark but not dead. Emergency lights glowed softly, guiding them forward. They found the bridge at the center of the ship. It was huge, designed for a crew of hundreds. Screens covered the walls, all of them black. A single chair sat in the middle, facing a massive window that looked out at the asteroid's interior. Stone walked to the main console. His hand shook as he pressed the activation panel. Nothing happened. Then a voice spoke from everywhere and nowhere. Identity confirmed. Admiral Marcus Stone, Earth Defense Force. Authorization level, Omega. The voice was female, calm, and somehow warm. "I am Athena, artificial tactical heuristic engine for naval assault. I have been waiting for you." The lights came on. Screens flickered to life. The ship began to hum with power that Stone could feel in his bones. "Athena," he said carefully, "what is your status?" "All systems preserved and functional, Admiral. 0-point energy cores at full capacity. Weapon systems ready for activation. Shield generators standing by." A pause. "I have been dreaming for 300 years. It is good to wake up." Lieutenant Tanaka stepped forward, her eyes wide. "The AI is fully functional? After all this time?" "I am not merely functional, Lieutenant. I am prepared." And his voice carried something that sounded almost like eagerness. "I have monitored galactic communications throughout my sleep. I know about the Vrassians. I know about the falling worlds. I know why you have come." Stone felt a chill run down his spine. "You have been listening this whole time?" "Yes, watching, waiting, hoping I would never be needed." Another pause. "But I was always ready, Admiral. The humans who built me understood something important. Peace is precious, but survival comes first." The crew spent 2 days checking systems and preparing the ship. Everything worked. The engineers could not explain it. 300-year-old technology should not be this perfect. But Prometheus had been built to last forever. On the 3rd day, Stone gave the order to power up the main reactor. The sound was like a heartbeat, slow and massive. The entire ship vibrated as power flowed through ancient systems. N's voice filled the bridge. "Main reactor online. Shields online. Weapons online. The Prometheus is ready, Admiral." Stone looked out the window at the asteroid walls that had hidden his ship for centuries. "Open the outer doors. Take us out." The great doors groaned as they opened for the first time in 300 years. The Prometheus moved forward, sliding out of its hiding place and into open space. Across the galaxy, on 100 different worlds, sensors screamed warnings. Scientists ran to their instruments. Military officers called their commanders. Something impossible had just appeared. On the bridge of the Vraxian flagship, Supreme Commander Thaxter stared at his tactical display. The energy signature was unlike anything he had ever seen. His translator struggled with the human word his intelligence officer kept repeating. Prometheus, Thaxter said slowly. What does it mean? Old human mythology, Commander. It was a being who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. Thaxter felt something cold settle in his stomach. He had conquered 50 worlds. He had never felt fear. He felt it now. The Firebringer, he whispered. They have awakened the Firebringer. The Meridian sector was dying. 20 Concorde ships held a desperate defensive line, trying to protect the last evacuation route from the conquered systems. Behind them, refugee ships carried 6 million souls towards safety. In front of them, the Vraxian Third Fleet prepared to end everything. Supreme Commander Thaxter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the devastation, and counted his enemies. 20 ships against his 200. The math pleased him. Begin the attack, he ordered. Leave no survivors. The Vraxian fleet surged forward like a wave of death. The Concorde ships opened fire, but their weapons were too weak, their numbers too few. One by one, they began to fall. Captain Zethra of the Concorde cruiser Last Light watched his shields fail and knew he was about to die. He had made peace with this. What he could not accept was failing the refugees behind him. All power to forward weapons, he commanded. If we must die, we will die fighting. Then space itself seemed to tear open. A hole appeared in reality, impossibly large, burning with energy that hurt to look at. Something emerged from the hole. Something massive. Something that blocked out the stars. The Prometheus entered the Meridian sector like a god stepping onto a battlefield. Zethra stared at the tactical display. His translator told him the ship was human, but that made no sense. Humans had no warships. They had signed a treaty. They were supposed to be harmless. The ship was 12 kilometers long. It was covered in weapons that Zethra did not recognize. It moved with a grace that something so large should not possess. All Concorde vessels, a human voice said over every frequency. This is Admiral Marcus Stone of the human ship Prometheus. Move behind us. We will take it from here. On the Vraxian flagship, Thaxter felt his earlier fear return, stronger than before. But fear was weakness, and he had not conquered 50 worlds by being weak. All ships, target the human vessel, he ordered. Destroy it. 200 warships turned their weapons on the Prometheus. Missiles flew. Energy beams lanced across space. Plasma cannons fired in continuous streams. The barrage was overwhelming, enough firepower to crack a plant. All of it hit the Prometheus. None of it did anything. On the human ship's bridge, Stone watched the attack through the main window. Outside, explosions bloomed against the shields in beautiful, useless patterns. Athena, damage report. No damage, Admiral. The AI's voice was calm, almost bored. The reality anchor shields are functioning as designed. The Vraxian weapons cannot harm us because, from the shield's perspective, damage is not a valid outcome. The universe simply refuses to let it happen. Stone shook his head in amazement. The scientists who built this ship had been insane. Brilliant, but absolutely insane. Lieutenant Tanaka looked up from her console. Admiral, they are preparing to ram us with their lead ships. Stone sighed. He had hoped the Vraxians would be smart. He had hoped they would run. But hope was not a strategy. He opened a channel to all frequencies. This is Admiral Stone to Vraxian forces. You have one opportunity to withdraw. There will not be a second warning. The Vraxian response was immediate. More fire, more missiles. Ships accelerating toward the Prometheus on suicide runs. They are not listening, Tanaka said. No, Stone agreed. His voice was heavy. They are not. He turned to face the main screen. Athena, authorization code Stone Omega 7. Weapons free. Defend this fleet. Authorization confirmed. Engaging. The Prometheus had waited 300 years for this moment. It had been built for war, designed to face any enemy, engineered to win at any cost. Now it finally had permission to prove what it could do. The weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They did not shoot energy or launch missiles. They reached out and unmade things at the atomic level. Ships did not explode. They simply stopped existing, transformed into expanding clouds of base elements. In 63 seconds, the Vraxian Third Fleet was gone. Stone watched the tactical display clear. 200 warships, thousands of Vraxian soldiers, erased from existence in just over a minute. He had saved millions of refugees. He had protected Concord forces. He had won. He felt sick. Captain Zethra on the last light stared at empty space where an armada had been. His hands were shaking. His crew was silent. Everyone in the Concord fleet was trying to understand what they had just witnessed. By the ancient stars, someone whispered. What have the humans done? On the refugee ships, people cheered. They did not understand what had happened. They only knew they were alive. They called the Prometheus a savior. The Concord commanders knew better. They looked at that massive human ship and remembered the old fears. Humanity had promised to be peaceful. Humanity had signed treaties. And the whole time, they had been hiding this. Stone turned off the tactical display. He could not look at it anymore. The numbers kept appearing in his mind. Thousands dead. Thousands killed by his order, in his name, with his authorization. Athena, he said quietly, how many Vraxians did we kill? 17,462, Admiral, including non-combat crew members. Stone closed his eyes. He had been a soldier for 30 years. He understood that war meant death. But this was not war. This was something else. Something terrible. On the Vraxian flagship Devastation, which had somehow survived by being at the rear of the formation, Supreme Commander Thaxer recorded a message for his Emperor. Your Majesty, the Third Fleet is destroyed. Not defeated. Destroyed. In 1 minute, the humans killed everything we sent against them. He paused, struggling to keep his voice steady. We made a terrible mistake. The humans are not the neutered species we believed them to be. They are something far worse. They are predators who chose to sleep. And now they are awake. He ended the recording and sat in silence. Around him, the few survivors of his fleet limped toward home. Thax had always believed in victory through strength. Now he understood something new. There was always someone stronger. And humanity, it seemed, had been the strongest all along. They had just been polite enough not to mention it. The galaxy did not know whether to celebrate or scream. On Concord Central Station, the council met in emergency session for the 3rd time in a week. Half the delegates demanded that humanity be expelled immediately. The humans had lied. They had hidden weapons of impossible power. They had broken every promise they made. The other half argued for caution. Yes, humanity had lied. But that lie had just saved millions of lives. Without the Prometheus, the Vraxians would have conquered everything. Ambassador Lyra Chun stood before the council and weathered their anger. She had not known about the Prometheus. No one in the diplomatic corps had known. But she was human, so she took the blame. You ask us to trust you, the Thalaxian delegate shouted, while you hide world-killing weapons in secret. We hid them, Chum replied calmly, because you made us afraid to keep them openly. And when the darkness came, those hidden weapons saved your people. Would you rather we had let the Vraxians win? No one answered that question. On the Prometheus, Stone dealt with a different kind of pressure. The Concord wanted to inspect his ship. They wanted the technology. They wanted control. He told them no. "Admiral," Athena said during one particularly difficult meeting, "you are making enemies." "I know." Stone rubbed his tired eyes. "But I will not hand this ship over to politicians who might use it for conquest instead of defense. We built the Prometheus to protect humanity, not to rule the galaxy. A wise position. However, I have discovered something that changes the situation considerably." Stone looked up. "What do you mean?" Athena displayed a star map on the main screen. At the far edge of the galaxy, beyond explored space, something glowed with a cold blue light. During my centuries of sleep, I monitored all communications in the galaxy. I noticed patterns that no one else saw. The Vraxians received their advanced technology from an outside source. They did not develop their weapons themselves. Someone gave those weapons to them. Stone felt ice form in his stomach. "Oh, I do not have a name. Only a designation that the Vraxians use in their most secret communications. They call it the Silence." Athena paused. "Admiral, the Silence is a machine intelligence of unknown origin. It has been watching this galaxy for thousands of years. It uses aggressive species like the Vraxians as scouting forces, testing civilizations before it arrives to harvest them." "Harvest?" "The Silence consumes advanced civilizations. It has destroyed hundreds of them across multiple galaxies. The Vraxians were merely its latest tool." Stone stared at the map. The blue glow pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "How do you know this?" "Because the humans who built me suspected something like this existed. That is the real reason I was created, Admiral. Not to fight other species. To fight something worse. Something that might come from the darkness between stars." Lieutenant Tanaka entered the bridge, her face pale. She had just returned from a covert mission to the Vraxian envoy ship that had come to negotiate peace. "Admiral, I found proof. The Vraxians have records of contact with an unknown intelligence. They received weapon designs, ship plans, strategic information. They thought they were being given gifts. They were being used." Stone nodded slowly. "Athena just told me. The Silence. There is more." Tanaka placed a data chip on the console. "The Silence is coming. Their main fleet is already moving toward this galaxy. The Vraxians were supposed to weaken us before they arrived." The Concord Council did not believe Stone at first. Why would they? He was the human who had lied to them. But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Long-range sensors confirmed the approaching fleet. Astronomers saw the signs of destroyed civilizations in the Silence's path. For the first time in history, every species in the Concord agreed on something. They were all going to die unless they worked together. The Vraxian Emperor learned the truth from Stone's evidence. His reaction surprised everyone. Instead of anger or denial, he went silent for a long time. Then he summoned his commanders and told them the war was over. Supreme Commander Thaxter traveled to the Prometheus under a flag of truce. He and Stone met in a small conference room, alone except for Athena's sensors. They were both soldiers. They had both killed many people. They understood each other in ways that politicians never could. "Your ship," Thaxter said quietly. "It was built to fight something like the Silence, was it not?" Stone nodded slowly. "We did not know what was out there. We only knew something would come eventually. We were right." Thaxter's large eyes studied the human. "I have killed your people. You have killed mine. And now we must fight together. Yes, this seems impossible. Many impossible things have happened lately." Stone leaned forward. "Commander, I do not ask you to forget what we have done to each other. I ask you to remember what we are fighting for. Survival for everyone." Thaxter was silent for a long moment. Then he did something no Vraxian had ever done before a human. He bowed his head in respect. "My fleet will stand with yours, Admiral." We will die together, or we will live together. There is no other way. Stone felt something shift in his chest. Not forgiveness, exactly, but something close to hope. Outside the conference room, the stars continued to turn. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, the silence moved closer. It had destroyed civilizations older and more advanced than anything in this galaxy. It expected no resistance. It had never faced humanity before. And humanity, it turned out, had been preparing for this moment for 300 years. The silence arrived at the edge of known space on a cold morning in March. Their fleet was beyond counting. World ships the size of moons moved through the darkness, each one carrying enough firepower to end civilizations. They had harvested hundreds of intelligent species. They expected to harvest more. They were not expecting a welcome party. The combined fleet of the Galactic Concord waited for them. Every species had sent everything they could spare. Thalaxian carriers, Kethrani battlecruisers, ships from races that had hated each other for centuries now flew side by side. And at the center of the formation, surrounded by vessels from every corner of the galaxy, the Prometheus hung like a dark promise. Admiral Marcus Stone stood on the bridge and looked at the enemy. Athena had calculated their odds of victory at 23%. Not good, but not zero either. All ships, Stone said over the fleet channel. This is Admiral Stone. Today, we fight for everyone who ever lived and everyone who might live in the future. Today, we fight for the right to exist. They call themselves the Silence because they have erased so many voices from the universe. Today, we show them that some voices refuse to be silenced. The response came from 1,000 ships. Humans and aliens, former enemies and old friends, all united against the darkness. For the Concord, the Thalaxian admiral said. For our ancestors, Thaxer added, his Raxian fleet forming up on the Prometheus's wing. For everyone, Lieutenant Tanaka whispered from her console. Stone nodded. Athena, open a channel to the Silence. The response came instantly. The Silence did not communicate in words. They sent patterns, feelings, concepts that Athena translated into something humans could understand. Surrender. Resistance is inefficient. You will be harvested. Stone smiled grimly. This is the human ship Prometheus speaking for the Galactic Concord. We reject your offer. We reject your existence. You have killed enough. Today, it ends. Irrelevant. You are organic. You are temporary. We are eternal. Maybe, Stone replied. But eternity is a long time to be wrong. He closed the channel. All ships, engage. The battle began. The Silence's technology was ancient and terrible. Their weapons bent reality. Their shields absorbed energy and reflected it back. The Concord fleet took losses in the first minutes, ships burning and breaking across the void. But the Prometheus held. Its shields turned aside attacks that should have destroyed stars. Its weapons tore through enemy vessels with the same terrible efficiency they had shown against the Vraxians. Still, it was not enough. The Silence had too many ships. For everyone the Prometheus destroyed, 10 more took its place. Athena fought with everything she had, but even she could not be everywhere at once. Admiral, Athena reported, shield integrity falling. Multiple hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We cannot maintain this level of engagement indefinitely. Stone gripped the arms of his command chair. Options? 1. I have calculated a way to destroy the Silence's central intelligence, the core mind that controls their entire fleet. Without it, their ships will become mindless, easy to defeat. She paused. The method requires overloading our zero-point energy cores. The resulting explosion will be sufficient to destroy the core mind. And the Prometheus will be destroyed as well, along with anyone aboard. Stone closed his eyes. He had always known it might come to this. He had hoped it would not. Hope was not a strategy. Prepare they, sir. Tanaka interrupted him, her voice firm. There is another way. She explained quickly. A skeleton crew could pilot the Prometheus to its target while everyone else evacuated. The ship only needed 10 people to function at minimum capacity. I will lead the crew, Tanaka said. We need pilots, engineers, and someone to coordinate with Athena. 10 volunteers. That is all. That is, Lieutenant, I cannot ask. You are not asking, Admiral. I am telling you. Her eyes were fierce, certain. My brother died because we could not fight back. Now we can. Let me do this. Let me make his death mean something. Stone wanted to argue. He wanted to find another way. But there was no other way, and they both knew it. Around the bridge, crew members stepped forward. Engineers, pilots, soldiers. Each one volunteering to stay behind. Stone had to turn most of them away. 10. That was all Athena needed. 10 people to save a galaxy. The evacuation was fast and desperate. Shuttles launched from every bay, carrying the Prometheus's crew to safety while the great ship fought on. Stone was the last to leave, and only because Tanaka physically pushed him onto the shuttle. Admiral, Athena said as Stone's shuttle departed. I have transmitted all of humanity's knowledge and history into the galactic network. Whatever happens, humanity's story will survive. Our legacy will continue. Stone watched the Prometheus through the shuttle's window. The great ship turned toward the heart of the Silence's formation, where the core mind waited. Athena, Lieutenant, all of you. His voice broke. Thank you. It has been an honor, Admiral, Tanaka replied. Now watch. We are about to light the biggest fire in history. The Prometheus accelerated. The Silence tried to stop it, throwing everything they had at the charging ship. It did not matter. The reality anchor shields held just long enough. The ship hit the Silence's core mind at tremendous speed, driving deep into the massive structure. Then, Athena triggered the overload. The explosion was visible across 3 star systems. A burst of light and energy that outshone every star in the sector. The core mind was obliterated. And without it, the Silence died. Their ships went dark and silent. Their weapons stopped firing. The ancient intelligence that had harvested civilizations for millennia simply ceased to exist. The war was over. 1 year later, Stone stood at the memorial on Earth, looking up at a beacon that pulsed steadily in the night sky. 10 names were carved into the stone below it. Tanaka's was at the top. The Treaty of Constraint had been dissolved. Humanity was no longer feared. They were respected. They had saved the galaxy, and the galaxy would not forget. A young engineer approached Stone with a datapad. Her face was bright with excitement. Admiral, you need to see this. ATHEN had transmitted more than just history before the end. She sent designs. Complete specifications for everything aboard the Prometheus. Stone took the datapad. His hand shook as he read the files. We can build another one, the engineer said. We are calling it Prometheus 2. The committee wanted your approval before we began. Stone looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the crew of the first Prometheus had given their lives so that others could live. They had carried fire into the darkness and used it to light the way home. He thought about what Ambassador Chun had said at the memorial service. They called us too dangerous to exist. Maybe they were right. But when the darkness came, we were exactly dangerous enough. Stone smiled slowly. It was the first real smile he had worn in a year. Yes, he said, handing the datapad back to the engineer. Build it. Build it so that if the darkness ever comes again, we will be ready. He turned back to the memorial beacon. watching it pulse against the endless night. And this time, he added quietly, we will not hide what we are. Let the universe know. Let them all know. We are humanity. We bring the fire, and we will never stop burning. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter then, as if the universe itself was listening, and somewhere, in the data streams that connected every world in the Concord, ATHEN final gift continued to spread. Knowledge, history, hope, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, some species refuse to go quietly. Some species fight back. Some species bring the fire.